This episode was particularly emotional for me. I would probably say this may have been the most emotional episode, period, in the entire series. I was just in tears a lot during this entire episode. You know, I had a long day. I've actually been volunteering at the Calgary Expo all weekend, and it was a blast. And I was curious to see how they handle Tommy. And I was wondering if they were going to go for a reveal of Jesse and Ellie and Dina coming into town with Joel's corpse being pulled behind the horse. They decided to skip that part and go with seeing Joel lying on a bed. Tommy comes in, and it's a pretty emotional moment. Gabriel Luna is absolutely just killing it. I really hope he gets an acknowledgement come award season. I think he's absolutely spectacular in this entire season so far. He was barely in it first season, but he's really getting his time to shine for sure. And Caitlin as well, although we never got to see her in this episode at all. This is all just an Ellie episode. Really hit me in the feels. At the opening where Tommy is in the room sitting next to Joel, and he turns to him and he's crying and he says,
"Give Sarah my love."
I knew that there's going to be some type of Sarah moment, like whenever you see Joel's broken watch. I mean, I knew what was going to happen in episode 2, and it was still heartbreaking when it happened. This episode, for some reason, I don't know, it reminded me a lot of some moments of Brokeback Mountain, especially season 1. That movie was actually shot in Alberta, and a lot of the scenery in season 1 reminded me of moments from that, and Brokeback Mountain is also probably the most heartbreaking movie I've ever seen. It absolutely broke my heart, and I bawled my face off. In this episode, there was a really dramatic scene where Ellie goes back to the house, where at this point in their relationship, Ellie was staying in the garage, so I guess she didn't get into the house much, but she goes into Joel's room, and then she sees his coat, and she breaks down. That reminded me a lot of Brokeback Mountain, which there's a scene where Heath Ledger had kept Jake Gyllenhaal's coat in like a closet, and he would just kind of like take it out and smell it. But this episode really hit me in the feels for sure. So far, each episode of these so far they've had has only been like an hour-ish. If they're doing a 7-episode season, why aren't they doing hour and 10, hour and 15, even an hour and a half on episodes? I'm wondering if maybe the last episode of the season will be an hour or more. I feel like there's going to be at least 1 hour and a half episode. I'm almost sure that I read about that somewhere. But this was the first episode where we finally got to see the Seraphites. The Seraphites in the games were this cult that they essentially just stick to themselves. They're not really out to just ambush or attack people, but if you're in their territory, in the games, they were actually pretty creepy. When you would hear the whistling, your heart would skip a beat a little bit just because it became this trigger element that I thought was kind of brilliant, of how they're always signaling each other. Because first off, you can't see them. They're hiding in the woods, in the trees somewhere. You can never see them. Signaling to each other, communicating through whistling. Play the games and you hear those whistling, you get a little freaked out. And they did some of the whistling in this. They showed them for the first time, but it was a very short, barely 5 minutes of them walking along a path, and then suddenly they hear someone and they jump into the woods. Cut to later on near the end of the episode, we see that they were all massacred. They made it seem like it was Wolf, the WLF, but I'm not too sure yet. I wasn't 100% convinced that was just the wolves who would arbitrarily attack the Seraphites. They're hiding in the bushes. They didn't stay there and fight. Did the wolves actually run into the woods? How did they even know they were there? I think it might have been Isaac, though I'm not sure if it was him by himself, because he took down a lot of people. For some reason, it's striking me more that it would be him, who definitely has a more of a hate and a connection towards the Seraphites. Because I just don't see that it would be the wolves. At the end of the episode, they show like a tank of them going down the street, and there's an army of them, and that's how they ended the episode, this very ominous moment of them walking off. Where exactly, I don't know. Earlier on, they had a community hall to talk about, okay, are we going to go after the people that killed Joel? And initially, they wanted to send 16 people, which is a lot. I don't know why they wanted to send 16. For whatever reason, it took Abby and her crew 5 stinking years from Seattle to Jackson, when it seems like it took a couple days for Ellie and Dina to do it. I'm confused about that. they were discussing about, okay, are they going to send 16 people? And a woman in the crowd actually made a really great point of like, okay, do we really want to send 16 of our best after we just got our asses kicked? They decide, no. The guy that was rude to them earlier called them like dykes and stuff, but then he apologized and gave them sandwiches. So speaked up on Ellie's side, like, yeah, what are we doing? They killed one of ours. We need to go after them. But ultimately, it ended in a vote of no to not do it. But obviously, Ellie's going to go anyways. I mean, obviously. And yes, that happens after the vote. Jesse actually just got added to the council, which is also a new, not from the games. And he actually voted no. Ellie was obviously pissed at him. She gives him a dirty look. Jesse doesn't look at her. Obviously, he knows that she's pissed. Just before the council meeting, Ellie learns that he's on the council, and she asks him directly if she can count on him. He didn't directly say yes or no. He said no for good reasons, not because he's selfish, but he cares about Ellie too. He wants her to be safe, so he says no. At the same time, I'm sure he knows, just like Tommy knows, that she's gonna go anyways, because Tommy knows immediately at the end of the episode, he's like, I'm just afraid she's gonna do something stupid, and I think he should just assume that at this point. I don't think he should think about it. He should be like, yeah, she's probably gonna go. They've already left at this point, so I'm wondering how next episode, I feel like they're gonna start showing Jackson less and less, because the rest of the season, the 4 episodes left are going to be about Ellie and Abby. I'm wondering if they're going to do some changes, like maybe Tommy and Jesse are going to go after them. Jesse's definitely being underutilized. I really like young Mazino in this, though he's very mature. He's a sensible one. He always does the right thing, and he's a stand-up person that we didn't get to see Abby at all. Is this going to be an 100% Ellie episode? So does that mean next episode will be 100% Abby? We only have 4 episodes left, so I'm wondering how they're going to balance the rest of the season. Will it be Ellie episode like today, and then an Abby episode, then an then an Ellie, and then an Abby, or are they going to start mixing it up? I kind of feel like next episode will be all Abby, if not 100% Abby. Another purely Ellie episode, and then perhaps they're going to start mixing up the last 2 where it's half Ellie, half Abby. How they're going to end season 2, I honestly can't even picture it, because we already know for sure they're guaranteed to have a season 3. So obviously the end of the season is not going to end with Abby and Ellie, with their ultimate face-off. We're not going to see that probably till the very end of season 3. And we don't know how long season 3 is going to be. Is it going to be 7 episodes again, which I really hope not? Will it be 6 or 8 or 10? I don't think it's going to be as many. Like, it'll probably just be 7 again, or maybe 8. It's a very emotional episode. Even when it opened, we circle back to the opening. Start with the hospital, and people are being fixed up, and the wounded are being healed in the hospital. And then we go to Ellie, and she straight up wakes up and just starts screaming. And so this is her reaction. She's traumatized after seeing what happened to Joel. She's full on traumatized. She's in the hospital bed, and she just gets up and just starts screaming. Cut to 3 months later, and she's just getting out of the hospital. And again, with that, I'm so confused, because in the interaction with the other wolves at the end of episode 2, Manny kicked her in the stomach really hard, but then that was it. I'm just curious as to why a kick to the stomach put her in the hospital for 3 months. I'm almost wondering if there was an intentional delay or something, like, because to the people like Tommy or whoever who knew that she would want revenge immediately, did they intentionally keep her there? And then even when the doctor finally gives her the go-ahead, Gail comes in and they have a little conversation, and Ellie's very impatient. But I did love seeing Catherine O'Hara and Bella Ramsey together. I'm not really sure why, but I mean, again, being from Canada, we love Catherine O'Hara. She's a total national treasure. And seeing her with Bella Ramsey, for me, made me a little happy. I'm not really sure why, because she was with Pedro too. I never saw in the trailers them having any interaction, so I wasn't even sure if they were going to talk. So seeing them talking made me feel nice. And I also loved seeing Ellie and Tommy getting closer, and they had a little hugging moment, because there wasn't really a whole lot of interaction with Tommy and Ellie in the games. Even after Joel died, there wasn't that much of a relationship. So they definitely growed with Ellie and Tommy. But then in those 3 months, Dina actually reveals she did overhear the names of some of the people that attacked them. Of course, Ellie gets really pissed. She has a good excuse, considering that Ellie was still beat up, and the fact that she knows they were going back to Seattle. So her response to that is, well, why go after them when we know where they're going to end up? So they're back in Seattle. But I'm still on really wanting to understand how it is that it took them 5 years to get from Seattle to Jackson. And it took Ellie and Dina, I don't know how long. They didn't really say, but maybe a week. I don't know. Maybe they did it in a week. They didn't really do any time jumps of like a week later, 2 weeks later. They just did some transitioning of them. Obviously, the kiss is going to come back up eventually. And then Dina randomly brings it up. And she even straight up says that she's not gay, even though she's like, well, Ellie, well, you're gay and I'm not. I just want to know what you think about our kiss. And Ellie gives it a 6, which is pretty low. Dina doesn't like that. But it's interesting to hear Dina say out loud still that she's not gay, even though there's a definite attraction between them. And they're really good at kind of showing that tension between them. Even when they're just having a conversation about anything, you can still feel the attraction between them, which is something that I think is going to be hard to do to show on screen. Of like two people who aren't even talking about the most random thing can still kind of show that there's a connection there. And yeah, Isabela is starting to grow on me more. I kind of figured she would, but she's still not pulling off the whole good with guns. There's a couple of times she'd say things that it sounded like maybe she was kind of good at tracking in a way, or like there's certain things that she's better at than Ellie. Ellie's definitely more of a gun person. She's definitely gotten a lot better training with guns and hand-to-hand combat. There's that little scene where Jesse's helping her train on the punching bag. Medina seems to have better skills in terms of tracking and using the maps and hiking and doing it all efficiently. So it seems like she has her own skills and Ellie has her own skills. And now here we are at the end of the episode, and I'm wondering, where can it go from here? Will the next episode be 100% Abby, Ellie, and Dina are now in Seattle? And I'm wondering, how often are we going to also see the Seraphites? They finally introduce them. And we're definitely going to see Isaac next episode for the first time. So basically halfway through the season, we're finally going to see Jeffrey Wright. And he definitely strikes me as someone who's a lot more vicious and kind of almost just kills to kill, but also very territorial, like the Seraphites are. The Seraphites are just kind of territorial. They don't outright attack anyone unless they're being attacked or there's people invading their territory. These nameless man and this girl who I'm not sure if that's his daughter. I have a feeling it's not, and it's just two people that are probably lost their family. And he's straight up just explaining the whistling and how it works. And he gives her a hammer as some sort of protection, which clearly didn't work because, spoiler alert, she dies later, and it's kind of brutal to see like the dead kid there. And it's upsetting to Ellie and Dina. Dina actually throws up, but I have a feeling that barfing is something to do with her being pregnant. Dina throwing up, a hint of the whole morning sickness thing, or did she just throw up because she saw all the dead people? And I'm not like stopping to go look online, all right, to see, am I right about what I'm saying from the game? I'm just saying it's directly from memory of a game I played in 2020. We're going to have to see how that plays out. And also, I'm wondering if we're going to see Jesse often, because I feel like in the game, he was with them when they were on their way to Seattle in some parts, not all the parts. If perhaps Jesse and or Tommy started going after them as the very next day when they realized they were gone, because I'm sure that's what's going to happen the next day. Tommy or someone's going to realize that they're gone. Probably not be all that surprised, but then someone's going to go after perhaps Tommy and Jesse. Maybe just Jesse, maybe just Tommy. I don't know. But Tommy also has a son. He doesn't really want to leave Jackson and his boring old wife, who is still boring. Maria is boring. Most boringest character in the entire show. Oh my god, is she ever boring. No offense, Maria, but you're just boring. Be funny. Have a personality. Do something interesting. I don't know. But this is my, once again, very well thought out, planned. I sat down and I wrote this for hours review. And I definitely didn't do this review off the top of my head right after I finished watching the episode. That's definitely not what I did. I'm sure there's some inaccuracies here involving me trying to memorize things from the games and things that they changed. This episode, they didn't really change a whole lot, other than, of course, having Gale there, who doesn't exist from the games, but Gale rocks. We love Gale. How can you not love Gale? It's Catherine O'Hara. How can you not love her in anything? Seeing Tommy and Ellie and how close they are, and how he even says it that, well, he's inherited her, so he's kind of her responsibility now, or she's kind of his responsibility now. So, of course, Tommy misses and loves Sarah as well, even though it was 20 years ago. And now he's lost his brother, so he's lost his niece and his brother. So now he has his surrogate niece, Ellie, and his own son and a wife. So Tommy has a lot going on, and I'm really impressed with Gabriel Luna. I really hope he gets some awards acknowledgement already, even just 3 episodes in. I think he's so good in this season, like just really killing it. And Bella is so awesome. I hate the hate that Bella gets. She doesn't deserve it. She's a spectacular actress. She's spectacular as Ellie. I like Isabela. She's definitely growing on me. But that is my short and sweet review. Are you on the path to revenge or to redemption or to reinventing yourself? I'm just rambling and saying weird random shit, but one thing I'm definitely going to say is to definitely subscribe to my channel, because it's the most amazing YouTube channel that's ever existed. So if you don't subscribe to it, you're going to miss out on the most amazing YouTube videos that's ever been made in the history of the world. Okay? If you don't subscribe, you're going to miss out. So also don't forget to hit that little belly thing. And I'm a little tired. But also, above all else, once you subscribe, once you like, and once you hit the bell for the notifications, don't forget to keep gaming.